my wife had some challenges with her birth, our firstborn, and we wanted to just tap into something new and also really take responsibility for our health. That was important to us. So as that idea of taking responsibility came to fruition, I mean, KAUAI was the place that had all this medicine. I mean, we traveled to Hawaii, and when we got there, yeah, this medicine was being put in front of us. And
Dr. Mindy here.
Your body is in a war zone.
Different parts of the brain get activated depending upon how stressed you are.
When you look at it from that inflammatory.
It's interesting. I mean, that has some merit to it for sure.
And you can't control everything.
I'd say.
And what about a woman who is not pregnant, but she's aiming?
Okay, Doug, for starters, I have to welcome you to my podcast. I feel like the first time I met you, I was in shorts and flip-flops, and now you're seeing the professional version of me. So let me start off by just welcoming you. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Thank you, Mindy. Yeah, it's a pleasure. I know the first time you came kind of undercover on the farm, I didn't quite know, who you were. I'm so honored to be here.
Here's where I want to start this conversation, because there's so much that I want my audience to understand about your products, what you're up to. But I think your story is really fascinating because so many people are starting to understand it's time to slow down. So talk little bit about how you went from a high stressed life to being a regenerative farmer on Kauai.
So that was quite some time ago. I used to do private equity real estate. Finance stuff in my 20s. So that was early 2000s. And I left that world when I was 30. Not sure what I was going to do. I definitely wanted to change, wanted to see what else was out there. And then we had our first child. And my wife and I, Jenna, who we both owned together, KAUAI FARMACY, and founded it together. We went to KAUAI really to find just a journey, and we were definitely in a healing space for sure. We were both challenged. I was 30 pounds heavier than I am now. And my wife had some challenges with her birth, our firstborn, and we wanted to just tap into something new and also really take responsibility for our health. That was important to us. So as that idea of taking responsibility came to fruition, I mean, KAUAI was the place that had all this medicine. I mean, we traveled to Hawaii, and when we got there, yeah, this medicine was being put in front of us. And we first started with noni leaf, and we were kind of putting it on our skin and making tea with it, and realizing just, wow, this powerful leaf, so profound in its healing attributes. And we didn't know such medicine existed. It was new for us. I mean, I thought all medicine came in a bottle. So yeah, so this leaf, we would just put it in water and heat it up and make tea out of it. And we just started there. And the slowing down process, honestly, it was quite the unwinding, and still is. It's been 15 years on island. We did a lot of work, and the first 12-ish years were more in the physical space. For me, at least, and I cleaned out a lot of the toxicity that was in my physical being, whether it be the Wonder Bread from my childhood or so much of the other foods that I had gobbled up during my life at that time. And then the last few years, the slowing down process became as much about just realizing activity, this idea of being more and doing less really is the idea, or higher production and lower consumption, right? So what does that mean? And really leaning into that concept, because that's where the power is for me. That's where because slowing down, it can be elusive. Your mind can go, the other way.
Explain that a little bit more, because I can tell you for my own self that I'm very cognizant of the fact that I need to start to slow down. And even in some small little way, every time I do it, I feel like every cell in my body says, speed up, stop sitting on the couch, stop slowing down. Like, I think our nervous systems become so conditioned to this modern world that slowing down actually feels like torture. So how did you manage the feelings that came as you were slowing down?
Slowing down is, not an ideal description of the truth of it. It's really alignment, right? That's really what we're trying to find. That's what we're seeking, is alignment. And, we're seeking alignment really with the universe, and then within. The slowing down is more of like, that's like the punishment part. That's the pain and suffering. And you really, ideally, you avoid it. You can, transcend the slowing down and work yourself into alignment. So because like I said, the slowing down can be a lot of pain and suffering. So you don't really know, you don't really know what to do. So the question is how, getting into alignment, you're refining your energies, right? You're refining your physical, mental, emotional, and energetic being so that it's in alignment with the universe. And as you do that, it feels like slowing down is the same thing as speeding up, and everything is ideally, joyful, if you will. And you're able to take on the biggest tasks of the day and also get rest when rest is calling.
Yeah. I love that the slowing down feels like speeding up, because it does. It really, and I'm only at the beginning of learning how to do this. So talk to me a little bit about this idea around plants being medicine, and how that ties into the slowing down, because I'll just tell you what I saw when I was on your farm. I definitely saw many blissful individuals, not just you, but everybody there seemed to have just a peace and joy about them. There was something magical when I got out of my car, that I could smell all these smells coming from the plants that you have on your farm. You could feel a vibrational shift in the air. And I've heard you say this many times. I've heard you say it today. I've heard you say it when I was on your farm, that this is medicine. And so talk a little bit about how you went from this high stress life to the KAUAI farm to using the plants to start to heal your body. What is it about plants that we can use to help in the healing that we need to have from our modern rushing lifestyle?
Big question.
It is big. I know.
There's so much to the plants. At the same time, it's the simplicity, right? It goes, it's this that we're after. So it's like, words like cleansing, detoxing are certainly there, but also, words like life force and circulation are also part of the plant medicine. So, there's no linear aspect of it. It encompasses all that Mother Nature has to offer. At the same time, it's holistic. It's oneness in its delivery. So, like you're accessing all the powers of Mother Nature, the full spectrum rainbow, right? So, orange turmeric and red chili peppers and cacao, magnesium and all the different vitamins and minerals and nutrients in the ground that aren't really accessible to human beings right now. Those rare spices and herbs that created the spice wars of yesteryear and the spice islands and the spice war, all of that, even the Indian Tea and Spice Company, basically the birth of global capitalism, was birthed on the back of herbs and spices. And so people were after this life force. And today that life force has gotten homogenized, it's gotten fertilized, it's gotten, stale, old. And so people look at herbal medicine, as I did growing up, and said, that's not going to work. That's not going to work.
Right.
Because it doesn't.
Right.
Because it doesn't.
Right.
But if you take the intention, and it's as simple as backyard gardening, I mean, certainly on KAUAI, we're going to deliver another level of vitamins and minerals. It's going to be kind of, beyond the level you could do elsewhere, just given the soil, and the air and the water. But in any case, freshness, intention, what you can do in your backyard gardens with herbs like mint and lemon balm, just drinking those plants every day, lavender, so many. I mean, if you look at the herbs they used in the most powerful empires in the world, whether it be Greece, the Roman Empire, India, Africa, all during those times, how were those cultures raised to have massive populations? And their medicine cabinet, thousands and thousands of years, was plant medicine, and it was fresh plant medicine, and it was plant medicine that was highly, highly sought after and honored. And so the herbs, they come into the body, the beautiful colors, and just like a beautiful river attracts beautiful birds, these beautiful herbs come into the body and they clean, an otherwise polluted self. Or if the body's clean, they'll help, resonate and magnify an already beautiful being, with more colors of the rainbow. And again, beautiful vitamins and minerals.
I love this word life force because I think it's really key to what you have created there. So would you say that when we're looking at the modern world, we're looking at the toxic food, the toxic thoughts, the toxic lifestyle, it's depleting the life force. But when we come to plants and herbs, what we're doing is we're rebuilding the life force in the body. But what I've heard you say many times, and why I think herbal medicine gets discredited, is that the life force of these plants comes from the soil. So if the soil is depleted and doesn't have enough nourishment and energy and life force in it, what they're growing out of that is going to be depleted, which is perhaps why your products work so well. And the best way that I could explain it in my own personal use is those darn black peppercorns you gave me. That almost one peppercorn lit my mouth on fire. I had never tasted a peppercorn like that. So is it that herbal medicine doesn't get enough credit right now because what we have access to is a weaker energy source than what you're growing on KAUAI Farm?
Yeah, no question. I mean, like I said, we talked about the spice wars before. They traveled 18 months to 2 years. Christopher Columbus would travel from, Spain to the Spice Islands and lose 100 men over a 2-year period and come back with black pepper. Why did he do that? Yeah. That's not what's on the table today. He did that because he was going after life-saving medicine. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, I don't really love to get into this, but it's got to be said. The spread between the money we invest in our herb plant medicine cabinet, true plant medicine, and what we invest in so many other industries, but let's just call it pharmaceuticals for now because it's the most relatable, is just massive, right? You're talking like here's this little, I wouldn't even call herbal medicine an industry. I wouldn't even call it it gets no money. There's no support.
Yeah.
So you have people in Vermont, you have people in New Hampshire, people in Seattle holding it down. San Francisco, outside of San Francisco, they're holding it down, the herbalism trade. Why? To take care of their families, take care of, their communities. As a culture, right? The American culture, the Western culture, our investment, we're not vested in herbal medicine. There's no investment. Yeah. So not being vested, having no knowledge of, having no experience of, is just it's such a big part. And changing that story, rewriting that story, the new narrative, that's what needs to happen. And what happens is foundationally, you've changed every molecule in your body because the alkalinity this is radical alkalinity. So yeah, when you get to pH, 7.2 and you're this beautiful spring water and you can ease and grace through life, then that's great. You can eat salads and soups and you're cruising. But before that, how do you interrupt a toxic diet? It's like, it's easy for me to rah, you got to stop eating that food. But it's like, well, you've been feeding me this food since the day you gave me the milk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I read out. You've been giving me this toxicity, and now you're telling me 50 years later, I got to stop?
Yes.
I'm hooked.
Yes.
So the radical alkalinity of herbal medicine comes in, and I can tell you it comes in, the genius of it, it comes in as softly and gently as you would like, and that's the brilliance of it. And as it comes in so gently, you can drink a half a cup, you can brew it strong, you can brew it light, you can sprinkle a little bit on your food, you can sprinkle a lot on your food. What's the worst that can happen? You detox a little more, you detox a little less. The side effects are a little headache. That's kind of the way it rolls. It's not, the side effects do not have to be told on a commercial. That's not the type of side effects they were talking about.
So well said. That was so well said.
Yeah. So in any case, that's where herbal medicine holds the key. Is it's foundational in its radical alkalinity. And that alkalinity is inevitably what's going to move the acidity in the body to a pH that is more in balance. It's more in balance with the universe and with everyday health.
I really like this idea of looking at our toxic lifestyle, whether it's physical, emotional, chemical toxins, as polluting our body. So you're now in a polluted state, which puts you more in this acidic state, which, every cancer researcher, every chronic disease comes from this acidic state. So I love the terminology around that, because I think we don't give enough credit to the damage that toxic living can do to our health. And we don't give enough credit to the power of bringing the body back into alkalinity. So when we look at the plants on your farm, and you're dealing with a polluted body, what is our first door in? And I know you have a lot of amazing products, but how do we begin the journey from acidity, pollution to alkalinity, peace, and health within the body?
So the name of our farm is KAUAI Pharmacy. We have 4 acres. We have about 20 people working on the farm. So gardeners, people crafting, so alchemists, and then people educating and doing fulfillment. We do everything from the farm. We started with the farm growing a small blend, like a blend of 5 different herbs. And it was our first product. It was called Wellness Tea. We called it Wellness Tea. It still exists today, and it's 5 basic herbs. And these, what we do is it's not revolutionary by any means. It's avant-garde relative to what's been going on the last 50 years. But, the ancients were doing this, in their backyards. So, it's happening all over America in backyards as well, which is taking herbs that they've been using all over the world: ginger, turmeric, lemongrass, tulsi. Those are the 4 basic herbs that we believe should be in your diet every single day. And so what are those doing? Lemongrass, we use, 98% of the world's lemongrass is used for house cleaners, as a house cleaner.
Wow.
Which is and you couldn't source really good lemongrass. So that just shows you how backwards the Western world is that we're spraying wet lemongrass on our floor, yet we should be drinking it. And yet in Thailand, it's in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Lemongrass.
Interesting.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Interesting.
So,
and what does it do? What does lemongrass
It's cleaning. It's cleaning.
It's cleansing.
And it's cleansing. And listen, this is not about, the detox is like emergency, right? Like I know you talk a lot about fasting, and, ideally we get to a place, and I know you talk about stages where we're fasting from a place of innate weight. It's like that's what's comfortable for us. And the same thing goes with things like lemongrass. They're in our food every day. And then as a result, we're cleaning every day. We don't have to cleanse. We don't have to detox, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of pain and suffering. I'd rather,
A lot.
yeah, it's a lot. And so we keep going lemongrass. So turmeric, really, sourcing the right turmeric. KAUAI grows amazing turmeric. Knowing where you get your turmeric from is key. All different levels of quality there. So it's really going to help reduce inflammation, increase your immune system. In India, they use it for makeup, for the skin, to keep the mosquitoes away. So it's renowned as a second skin. In India, they have malaria there. So it's important. These are masks. These are protective items. So immune system is not this esoteric concept. It's an immune. You put a second skin on your body, right? So as you eat the turmeric, you don't worry about things like radiation. They don't affect you because the turmeric's inside you, right? They don't
Protecting you.
Yeah. And it's like, it's something, I don't like the radiation. No. Just eat the turmeric and you won't even be thinking about the radiation.
Yeah.
It's not there because you are building your immune system in real time. So that's turmeric. And again, the anti-inflammatory aspects of turmeric, healing in my opinion, every physical ailment manifests through inflammation. So, when I eat inflammatory foods, I can feel it in my hot spots, right? So I have a little shoulder thing. So if I eat a little, inflammatory food, my shoulder just feels a little tight. And if I keep eating those foods, I will continue to tighten up my shoulder to the point where it'll begin to numb, and then it'll begin to grow, like we talked about, cysts or tumors or all kinds of stuff. And we begin to get numb from the feeling, which started as a small little inflammatory food. And so, moving forward to ginger is all about that fire, metabolism, really helping, we talked about, less consumption, more production. Ginger really is all about that. Really, a lot of people are overweight and they can't even get on a treadmill, or they can't go for a run. They can't exercise. They have ailments. It might be too, older. So the ginger is going to work for you, right? It's going to burn. It's going to burn. And, integrating that ginger in. So it's also in this wellness tea. These herbs are in almost all of our teas: ginger, turmeric, lemongrass. And the fourth one is Tulsi. Tulsi, or holy basil, is an herb that they've been using in India for thousands of years. And although I have experience with it, people have much more knowledge of Tulsi than me. But it's been such an honor to grow and utilize this plant for awareness, really. Awareness. So it helps with the breath. It helps with opening up the respiratory system, becoming aware of your digestive tract, and what's healing for you. I drank a Tulsi tea. One of the first blends I made was Tulsi. My wife and I were on this property that had a beautiful herb garden, and I was making a sage lemon balm Tulsi mint tea, and the Tulsi was so profound in this tea, and I could feel my awareness to who I was, what was happening to me. I mean, I was 30 pounds heavier. My son was, running circles around me. I was 36 years old, and it was like, what is going on? Where is this headed? And I was drinking the tea, and the Tulsi was just so profound in its wake up call. It was such a wake up call for me, spiritually speaking. And it was just it was the beginning. It was the first door to open for me in the spiritual realm, yet so gentle in its ways, and it's one of those herbs that's when I say awareness, how does it relate to health? Well, you walk into a cold room and you put a jacket on, or you have to go to the bathroom, so you don't hold it for, an hour or two, or you're thirsty and you take a drink of water. All those things that, the awareness of them, sometimes the consciousness, and next thing you know, it's 2 days gone by and you haven't had a sip of water. And you remember, at one point you were on it, you were conscious about it.
Right.
And now all of a sudden 2 days go by, or you haven't rested, or you haven't slowed down, or those things haven't happened. So the Tulsi really helps solidify that awareness, and having Tulsi tea and, on the daily is critical. So that wellness tea, and again, all across all our teas, you'll basically find ginger, turmeric, lemongrass, and Tulsi. So how to start, I think, from our farm, you can't really go wrong. There's a lot of blogs that we have going on our website, a lot of videos on YouTube that we have going, and drinking tea, putting it in the fridge as iced tea, putting our superfoods, our endurance powder with our ashwagandha, having that in your smoothie. You'll just see a different level. I mean, I don't know of many, if any, superfoods that you can access, the source. And that's got to change. I'm proud to say that we you can access the source with us, but there needs to be more sources like us.
Yeah. And I can tell you just from being on your farm, like after a couple hours there, when we left, we literally felt different. And my husband and I were trying to figure out what it was. And there was also whatever that was coming off of the plants. There was a smell or like some molecule of healing that was coming off these plants. It was just something I had never experienced before. So talk a little bit, and I really don't want people to lose this, because I watch so many people go down the herbal medicine path only to be disappointed. Why can't I listen to a podcast like this and just rush out and get some organic curry powder at Whole Foods and sprinkle it on my food and expect the same healing result? Does it have to do with the soils in which it's grown in? Does it have to do with small batch versus large batch? Like how do we navigate whether something's just a really intense version of perhaps an old spice we're used to using? How do we know the difference between a healing spice and one that may be more generic?
Yeah, it's a wild concept, and I can't tell you that I truly understand. I'm going to kind of default to a little bit of ignorance here, because I don't really understand that industry, except for the experience that I have with, as it relates to cinnamon and black pepper and things like that you can get in abundance, stevia. I just look at those and see I don't feel any medicine in any of those.
Yeah.
And I haven't for quite some time. So, but I think if I step back for a moment and just appreciate what it takes to heal oneself and eat nourishing foods. We all have professions, and we approach our professions with such diligence and such commitment and such professionalism. It's just incredible, the commitment that we have to our professions, to how we keep our home, to the cleanliness of our cars, the cars we drive. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But when it comes to the way we approach our food, there's this level of lax.
Yeah, so well said.
And we choose to not cross our T's and dot our I's.
Yeah.
But like a B- or a B+ is not acceptable in our English paper. But
right.
it's totally cool. It's totally cool to put a B- in our mouth.
Well said.
Right? It's totally okay.
Yes.
It's actually, in fact, like, live a little bit. Have a D.
Right.
Have a D and an F.
Oh.
Wouldn't that be interesting? You just actually got me thinking, wouldn't that be interesting if we had some kind of health rating like that on every food? Oof. So that you could be like, hey, this is an F in health. You might like the taste of it, but just know it's scored an F. Like, would that change? Because we're so success driven, we're so grade driven. Like, would that change the way people would approach food? It's a really interesting thought.
So, and then the premise of just, okay, so, and the why, right? F doesn't feel good. People know they're eating the bad food. They don't need an F to tell them that they're eating the bad food. So now the question is the why. And it's like, well, because the good food's going to make you feel good. And how do you trust that? And how do you trust the process? And what's the outcome and the fulfillment, right? The fulfillment of your life, right? That you get to enjoy your life, and then potentially explore other dimensions even, and really make the best of this journey. So, I mean, that's the why. And so when you mention the A to F, it's kind of funny because on one end, I'm sure a lot of people would not appreciate that. It's like,
no,
it's kind of serious. And it's like, but at the same time, the seriousness is kind of moving into a place in which you start to respect yourself more, right? Because
so well said.
Because the truth of it is you're disrespecting yourself when you eat those foods and drink that liquid, and then you're hiding in a space of, lack of a better word, in the party space, right? And you party only to have a crash later. And as you get older, there's no avoiding the crash. The crashes become, it's like the binges become shorter because you can't access them for, you can go on longer binges when you're younger. And so the lessons become shorter, and then it's like, why am I even doing this? It's only a 1-day binge and I get nothing out of it. So in any case, the idea is that you're able to create that foundation in which you can bring in those experiences on a consistent basis, and they add onto themselves, and the A-like, living, right? There can be some B pluses, lots of lessons all over the place, always, right?
I think the way you explain this is really beautiful, because I believe as we age, our cells, not our mind or our spirit, but our cells become less tolerant of the abuse. And so what they do is they give you more fatigue. They give you more cravings. They give you more anxiety in your brain. And all of that is just a cry from your cells to stop physically, emotionally, chemically toxifying them. And so you really bring up a really interesting point where I think we have to look at the wisdom of aging as when you have these aches and pains in your body, when your mind isn't at that performance level, it's just your cells saying, enough. I can't handle it anymore. You've got to do something different. And I can tell you with women that as we get over 40, we don't have that neurochemical armor of estrogen, progesterone that used to protect us. And so our cells are just so exposed, which is why I'm so intrigued as a 53-year-old woman by products like yours, because it feels like cellular healing. So talk a little bit. I know you've used a lot of products on women, going through the menopausal journey. How can we start to use some of the herbs that you've grown, the plants that you've grown, to bring not only cellular healing back, but to bring some balance to our hormones and maybe even our neurotransmitters back into balance as we move through our 40s and 50s?
We bought the farm. So obviously, my approach to plant medicine's somewhat, it's all about abundance, right? I want to bathe in it. I want to immerse myself fully in plant medicine. And
love it.
As I immerse myself, like I don't just like put a little thing on my wrist when my wrist hurts. If my wrist hurts, I douse, my finger to my shoulder with, the finest oil that I can find. And as I move forward through the plant medicine, I just trust so much, because you learn how amazing it is, and the trust and the wisdom that's within the plants and the information. So we're drinking the tea, consistently. We're sprinkling the spices on our foods. We're putting them in our smoothies. We're using the salves. We have a botanical body butter that's just beautiful. We have a comfrey salve.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's got
it's
cacao.
Really good. I can attest to that.
Yeah,
yes.
using KAUAI beeswax. I mean, using macadamia oil. Those, like, really understanding where your medicine's coming from, and then when you get the goods, not hoarding it, using it, using it on your body, like learning how to treat yourself, learning how to, not play the victim, not rely on others, massaging yourself, right? Massaging your feet on the daily, really practicing, self-care and self-love in order to build that respect, that self-respect up. And as you build that self-respect up and as you build that, practice, in fact, it just becomes easier and your body actually requires less. But certainly, women in their 40s and 50s and having children, certainly lack of village-like communities that the Western world has been experiencing. There's been a tremendous amount of pressure put on women, in my opinion, that ends up becoming an extremely challenging mental and physical experience after, once the children are born, because of the lack of village and community that exists in our culture. It's just, it's a topic I have a tough time discussing. So now it's for women, it's about, in my opinion, building that self-respect back up because they had to let go of so much.
Yeah. It's so well said. So, one interesting thing after we left your farm, the next day, I think we had told you that we were staying at the one hotel, and I went to get a massage, and they were using all your products. And there was a whole bunch of oils that they used in the massage. But when I got done with the massage, I was sitting on the beach, and I had this thought in my head, which was, I think I am the most relaxed I may have ever been in my entire life. Every cell in my body felt at peace. And so I actually went back to the spa and I was like, what did you rub on me? And this is my favorite product of yours. And I want to talk about how I've used it because I think it's really revolutionary in its use. And that's your Kava Serum. And so what I've done with the Kava Serum, and I can tell you as a 53-year-old woman, is I actually rub it on my sacrum at night before I go to bed, because the sacrum is the root of the parasympathetic nervous system. And it has been a major tool in helping me sleep throughout the menopausal journey, which so many women struggle. So talk a little bit about when we put something topical as opposed to breathing, smelling something, as opposed to drinking something, is that when I drank kava for a while, for a long time. What is it about topical versus ingesting it that's different?
We just drive so much of our nutrition, toxicity, medicine, all of it comes through our organs. And it's like, bleh, it's like so much on our liver and gallbladder and pancreas and stomach. And it's just a lot. And so when we have to address an acute issue, to address it through the organs becomes really taxing on your mental and emotional health. So if you can address an acute issue, for you, it sounds like potentially it's, a sleep or restoration, a restoration concept. And you can do it without having to go through your mouth, which is what we all immediately do. Take a pill or take a, drink of something. It's all like, I can only fix myself if I put it through my mouth. But once you realize your third lung is your skin, and it's the largest organ in the body, and you realize it through profound medicine, right? That's how you learn. Or jumping in a epically cold spring, like a beautiful spring or waterfall that'll literally detox you from the outside in. And you could do it through meditation and breath work too. When you realize that you are this pulsating being, and the idea that you can take in medicine through your skin, assuming that the medicine is on point, right? So then we're talking about a whole nother dimension of relationship between plants and people. When you can access plant medicine through your skin, it's just a whole nother dimension. So, that's an amazing feat, you know, and you've realized that feat. There's just different ways, gentler ways to treat. And what you're doing with that kava, I mean, kava grows, it takes 3 years to grow kava. And
oh, wow.
That's what's in that oil that you have. So we infuse it over a 3-day process, at a very low heat, 140-ish degrees, in this macadamia oil that is just luxury and so medicinal in its own right. And so the kava going in is extremely grounding. And it, you know, to me, I think that's what you're feeling is how grounding the kava is. And what the serum does, as opposed to taking it internally, where it, you know, that kava will go, in my opinion, goes right to your head. But it also goes to your body. I mean, kava is known to address the physical body in a kind of, in a more profound way and leave the mind alone for the most part. Mm-hmm. But then as you drink more and more, which I find happens a lot of times when you drink kava, you end up drinking more and more. It does start to seep into the mind. So with the serum, which is amazing, is it stays in the body and grounds. And it's amazing that you're tapping it into the way you are.
And you're kind of bringing your body back into homeostasis. And I think that's what we are missing in treating symptomatology is all symptoms is a body out of balance. So what I've heard is a general theme, not only in what you're saying today, but what I heard when I was on KAUAI was that we're bringing the body back into balance using plants to do that. So, there's always a gentleness in that. Whereas a lot of detoxing is still a lot of extreme energy that's pushing toxins out. That's not what I'm witnessing from being on your farm and actually using your products. Is it just feels more like a gentle hug that brings you back into balance. And I love that and appreciate that. It feels really nurturing. I think it's actually a really brilliant idea. In fact, I'm even wondering if it could be used as what I would call transitional medicine, meaning that when you're transitioning out of the stress of the day, could you put it on the bottom of your feet and just take 10, 20 minutes and just to sit in a peaceful place before you go into your evening routine? And maybe you do the same thing in the morning. But you actually had told, I'd clued into something you had said when we were there, which is you put one of the salves on your face and then you go into meditation. And it's a beautiful way to use the plants to assist you in that spiritual healing. Is that just something you've intuitively come up with, or is there anything that we should know about the spiritual part of these plants and how they can really shift us, not only on an energetic level, but on a spiritual level?
Yeah, well, like certainly our hydrosols. So we have a steam distillation of the spirit water of the plant. They're called hydrosols. And like our Tulsi hydrosol, we could spray on your face. That's going to be an awareness experience. You know, it's a beautiful perfume, but also is like an antidepressant. It has a happiness vibe to it. And certainly the oils are gonna help with circulation, so that when you know, through meditation and breath work, you know, you're only going to drop in my opinion, in a, you know, deeper place by, you know, burning that sage stick or rubbing, you know, plant medicine on you. And, you know, all the plant medicine is a component, like in my coaching practice, you know, what I teach is, and also practice is the 5 components, which is plant medicine, nutrition, you know, and the plant medicine is going to call in, you know, more watery foods, more slippery foods that are easy to digest. It's going to call, so nutrition, so herbal medicine, nutrition, it's going to call in the yoga, the stretching, you know, the expansion of the physical body to be more, you know, more postural and more in tune with Mother Nature in its posture. And then, meditation and breath work. So all five of those, you know, herbal medicine, in my opinion, being for me, it was the interceptor. It allowed me to intercept my nutrition. And once I got those under wrap, once I could get those under control, because I was out of control. And so I switched up my, pH. I got my alkalinity, flushed out and kind of under control. And then I was able to start moving into, my breath work and yoga.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the idea of calling it in. That was so well said. And I think, a big summary of everything you're saying is with each move towards a healthier body, away from a polluted body, the body craves another move. And then it craves another move. And when we've become so disconnected from our body, when we go to get healthy, it's hard for us to intuitively know what we want. But using something as beautiful as comfrey salve on the bottoms of your feet, or one of my favorite teas that you have is the green energy tea, drinking that in the morning. And I feel like all of a sudden I know what's best for me. Whereas every other, like even a cup of coffee or getting up and rushing to my day, now I'm disconnected and I don't know what's best for me. So what I'm hearing you say is that the plants have a way of calling in the other pieces as you use them more frequently. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. I mean, it's so accurate. The foundation, you're talking about foundation, right? And versus like a compulsive being, right? Where you're just going from place to place to place. And, you might be like adding more money or adding more houses or making more friends. But it's like, what's the intention and are you truly in alignment? What level can we get to as far as control? And the herbs really help support that awareness, or thoughts and emotions.
Yeah. So agreed. Well, I just love the way you speak of plant medicine, because I feel like, and experiencing your farm also sort of solidified for me the power of the right plants grown in the right soil, in the right environment, and how healing that can be. So I just really appreciate you. I appreciate what you all have done there. I do want to end on two of my favorite questions this season. And I really have been focused on teaching people self-love this year. Especially women, as we go through our menopausal journey, we need more self-love. So do you have a self-love practice it sounds like everything you do at the farm is self-love, but do you have a self-love daily practice? And my second part of that question is, what do you think your superpower is that you bring to the world?
My self-love practice at this moment, because it does change. I am loving my meditation. It's for me, it's a way that I close my eyes and I work on the two things that are basic principles of being a human being, and that is breath and posture. And as I work on my breath and my posture, I fall into alignment with me and the universe. And it's so simple. And
love that.
Yeah. So that's the self-love. Although I do a lot of other things too. But that's my day to day.
I love it.
And then what was the other question?
Superpower.
What I could bring to the world. The idea of sharing. My wife and I have been on a journey. Mm-hmm. My wife and I have a lot to share, and we're excited to do so. And, the plant medicine, but also our experiences and education. So at the moment, it would be the experience that we've had, and be able to share it and hopefully, provide some knowledge for people to help heal themselves.
I think that is such a profound answer, because experience doesn't get enough credit in this world, life experience. And I would agree, the moment I stepped on your farm, not only could I tell there was a vibrational difference, but you and I chatted about this when I was there. It was like, I was drawn to you. I was drawn to what your energy and what you were sharing, and your energy today is an accumulation of all of your experience. So I love that. Very well said. And I loved this conversation. And it makes me want to go downstairs into my kitchen and start rubbing all your products all over me again. So where do people find you so that they can experience this as well?
Yeah, so the hub is at KAUAIPharmacy.com. So we are on the Garden Island of Kauai, and that's KAUAI, Kauai. And then pharmacy is with an F, so FARMACY.com. And that's the hub, and we have Instagram at KAUAIPharmacyT.com, and we have a YouTube. So there's lots to learn on our YouTube. And yeah, those are the basics. Those are the big spots. And then we do have visits to the farm. If you ever come to Kauai, you come visit the farm at the moment. And you can come for tea, and we have a retail store there as well. So we have an apothecary, if you will, there. But on our website, this is all explained, and all of our products are on our website. And there's a ton of information. We blog every week. We have a newsletter that comes out every week. We do a lot of effort in that. Everything we do has a lot of intention all the way from. So
you can tell. And I really recommend people go visit you, because that will solidify everything that you learned today. So amazing. Thank you, Doug.